I owe you all an apology. I recently realized that I've been ignoring a big portion of filmmakers with this channel. What about all the writers, directors, and producers who want to make bad films? Well, finally, I got a video just for you. Disclaimer, don't take this list personally. I've been guilty of pretty much all these. You know, some tropes are a classic for a reason, and you gotta try this one. It's the ultimate cop-out ending. Writing a mysterious film has never been easier. Simply do whatever weird, insane shit you can think of, and then have your character wake up right before the end credits. Works every time. If we didn't know that these characters were siblings before, this incredibly natural line of dialogue will surely clear up any confusion. This must be what they mean when they say show, don't tell in screenwriting. Also, I feel like this style of writing has been taken over by a different type of film. I don't know, that's just what I heard though. You cannot have too many lens flares, folks. It's cinematic. You don't like being cinematic? Hey, there's the door. Don't look up with an anamorphic lens when you step outside it. You might accidentally see something distractingly blue and awesome. And no, I'm not talking about Avatar. But if you want to be the best, first you gotta beat the best. So that's why I always make sure to double the lens flares per minute, LFPM, in my films versus the leading Hollywood lens flare director. And that, my friends, is why they call me JJ Abrams. Give the people what they want. Text scrolling torturously slow over a black screen. You literally can't have enough of this. Throw it in the beginning, repeat the same names at the end, go nuts. Because guess what? It's called entertainment. And no story is more entertaining than reading strangers' names in unstyled Arial font over royalty-free music. I'm still waiting for the visionary director who's finally gonna step up and start throwing in some middle credits too. But hey, maybe the world's not ready yet. Is there anything more heartwarming than watching an acne-ridden protagonist with braces coming home to his wife and child after another long day at the office? You can almost feel the relief as he loosens his tie, because all adults wear ties to work, and finally embraces his child, who happens to be 5 years younger than him. But unfortunately, our protagonist has miles to go before he sleeps. A call from boss lights up his cell phone. We learn that those reports need to be on his desk tomorrow morning. From the look on his world-weary, wrinkleless wife, we know this is a familiar story. But you know what? Today's gonna be different. And after a deep heart-to-heart, our protagonist finally realizes he's getting too old for this shit. He puts down his briefcase, because all adults bring one to work, and plays a long overdue game of catch with his younger brother. I mean son. I think this is more of a modern take on the classic It Was All a Dream, but you know what? In a pinch, it still gets the job done. Take your characters out of the literal world without the baggage of those pesky writing responsibilities like making sense. Hey, you might get to finally bust out that fisheye lens too. Your production company logo is the business card of the film world, and I think we all know how critical business cards are, so make your mark. Simple or understated logos are not your friend here. Spend a minimum of 3 to 6 weeks designing an overwrought logo in Microsoft Paint. Then animate it. Add some music, consider making this music way louder than the rest of the film. And bonus points go for distracting or off-putting company names, sound effects, and amateur motion graphics. You know, let the audience really feel each of those keyframes. Because remember, if they can't connect with Unique Unicorn Pictures International's logo, how can you expect them to connect with Unique Unicorn Pictures International's films? Fun fact, the Standard Story Company logo took me about 30 minutes to make. And that mistake has cost me millions of dollars and Academy Award consideration year after year. Friday Film Notes is the free newsletter I send out to 8,500 filmmakers every Friday, and in fact, this video script is just me stealing one of my own newsletters. You definitely don't want to join this because then you'd be getting free filmmaking tips every week, as well as inspiration, news, humor for filmmakers. I try to make these things as helpful and fun and quick to read as possible, so that's just all gonna be absolute hell for anybody who wants to make bad films. In fact, it's probably gonna make you want to get out there and go make more films, which is definitely a bad idea. Plus, everybody who signs up gets sent my Google Sheets templates I use for producing my own short films, sending them to film festivals, and you'll get exclusive discounts, stuff like that. So whatever you do, do not spend 10 seconds right now popping over to standardstoryco.com and joining that newsletter. That's not for you.
You don't want this. Get out of here.
Ever hear that saying that we only use 10% of our brains? Well, guess what? Filmmakers who try to keep actors' eye lines consistent by adhering to the 180-degree rule are only using 50% of their story. Why hem yourself into only shooting a scene from one side? You can literally double the emotional impact by embracing the 360-degree rule instead. The math doesn't lie. Open your minds, sheeple. You know, back in the day, it was Windows Movie Maker, it was iMovie. While all the snobby pros were out there using Premiere, Avid, Final Cut, our creativity blossomed and was unfettered by the capitalistic greed of paid editing software. And then DaVinci Resolve came around, offering all the same features and power as that pro software, but for free. But you and I, we're not gonna be fooled that easily. We're gonna stick to our guns. But the arsenal's changed, and now we have CapCut. And finally, we have the versatility to edit thirst-trap TikTok dances and hard-hitting character study dramas in the same app. And you know what? No more gatekeeping, folks, because without even lifting a finger, everyone's gonna know how we achieved that movie magic right at the end of the edit. All these people on YouTube talking about color grading, first of all, slow down. You're gonna grade my color? What am I, back in elementary school? You're gonna give me a report card? You're gonna call me out for sharding in social studies? I don't think so. Log footage looks good. If it didn't, why would they even put it on the camera? It's called a low-con look, folks. It's cool. And honestly, if you edit with log footage long enough, it looks normal, so I don't see why I would mess with it and bring in all this extra junk like saturation and contrast, or LUTs. You know what LUT actually stands for? Lousy unwanted tint. I don't want a LUT, I want it natural. Log. By the way, if you're shooting log, you definitely don't want to use Cinematch either. Picture this scenario. You're shooting a film, right? Then you want to jump over to a drone shot. I don't have a drone, so this is my drone shot. Now, if you were to use Cinematch, you could perfectly match the footage from your main camera to your DJI drone right here, or your iPhone, or your Blackmagic Pocket, or your FX6, whatever, just with a few clicks. They've analyzed the sensors of these cameras to take the guesswork out of the whole process and give you fine-tuning controls to make your match even more precise. This is a big mistake. Do you really want the audience to think that you shot your film with only one camera? Hello, dead giveaway that you're a low-budget Bush League filmmaker. If I bust out a GoPro for a stunt shot, I want my audience to know I busted out a GoPro. And you do that by manually fiddling with the color on that GoPro shot for an hour in lumetri color, not getting it anywhere close to the A-cam's color, and then when that one shot shows up in the film, shocking the audience with totally different skin tones and contrast curves, etc., they'll be thinking, wow, was that a whole nother camera? Now, let me tell you, taking the audience out of the story like that, such a small price to pay to let them know, yes, I did have enough money to use two different cameras on this thing. So don't use Cinematch, because if you do, you're gonna make your film too seamless. And besides, who would wanna make their iPhone footage emulate an Arri Alexa's color science anyways? But if you do decide to go down that dangerous path, you can click the link in my description for 10% off Cinematch. And I apologize for letting such a helpful tool sponsor this video. Now for the honorable mentions. We got the camera budget being 90% of the film's budget, while the audio budget is the coins I found in between my couch cushions. We've got razor thin depth of field with actors going in and out of focus throughout every shot because cinematic. And we've got 100 tiny film festival laurels all over the poster, but none of them are from a festival you've ever heard of. Do you have any additions you'd like to make to this list? If so, drop a comment, because bad films can be so much worse if we all work together. And remember not to sign up for my weekly newsletter at standardstoryco.com. Even though it only takes 10 seconds, it will definitely hurt your chances of making bad films. Thanks to our sponsor Cinematch. Check them out with the link in my description. See ya next time.